My sister rejected my autistic kids. Now she wants back in. Because she can't have her own. I'll never forget the day my sister showed up at my front door with gift bags and that fake little smile. After 2 years of dead silence, she just appeared. All because she couldn't have kids of her own. Let me back up a bit. I've got 11-year-old twin boys. They're both on the autism spectrum. And my wife and I, we've worked damn hard to give them a stable, loving home. They're great kids. They just need a little extra patience, a little more understanding. Sure, we've had our struggles, meltdowns at the grocery store, that one awful school play I'd rather not talk about, and a constant uphill battle getting the school district to actually support them. But we made it work. Now, growing up, my sister and I were tight. Like, really close. We'd finish each other's sentences, share clothes, spill secrets. She was the first person I called when I found out I was going to be a dad. She was always there, or at least, it felt like she was. When the boys got their diagnosis, she was sitting right next to me as I cried. Brought over lasagna. Said she'd be there for us. Then about 5 years back, she met her now husband. That's when things started to shift. He comes from one of those families, wealthy, well-connected, acts like royalty just 'cause his dad used to serve on some local council. Slowly but surely, she started spending more and more time with his people. At first, it was little things. Josh's mom invited us over, or Josh's friends are having a get-together. Then, suddenly, every call was about them. Our weekend plans? Canceled. Every time. The boys noticed. They started asking why Auntie didn't visit anymore. I didn't have the heart to tell them the truth, so I made up excuses. She's busy. She's traveling. What was I supposed to say? Your aunt's new boyfriend thinks you're too much to handle? Because honestly, that's what it felt like. Still, when she got engaged, I was happy for her. I sent flowers, a card, tried to be involved. I asked if she wanted help with planning, and she just looked at me weird and said, "I'll think about it." Never brought it up again. But I still bought a dress shirt and slacks, thinking maybe I'd still be invited. Then one day, I was scrolling through Facebook. Yeah, I still use it. Don't judge me, and boom. Dozens of wedding photos. Everyone was there. My parents. Our cousins. Even some folks she hadn't talked to since high school. But not me. Not my wife. And definitely not my boys. I called her. She actually picked up. I asked what the hell happened. She paused, then said her in-laws didn't want any disruptions at the wedding. Said my kids might make people uncomfortable. Claimed she fought hard to include us, but didn't want any drama on her special day. Like my sons are walking disaster zones. I stood there, in my kitchen, staring at this dumb magnet she'd once given me. It said Sisters Forever. I pulled it off the fridge and tossed it straight into the trash. I figured my parents would be just as upset. I called them next. But nope. They actually defended her. Told me to understand her perspective, that difficult decisions have to be made. My dad even said weddings are too much for the boys anyway, like they know better than me what my kids can handle. Like we haven't been organizing trips and events for years without issue. That's when it hit me. This wasn't new. My boys had always been treated differently. Fewer gifts. Less excitement. They got developmental toys, while my niece got trips to the zoo. My nephew? A freaking drum set. My kids? Oh, they might not like loud places. So I blocked every one of them. Changed my number. We were already planning to move, needed a better layout for the boys anyway, but I sped that up. My wife was totally on board. Honestly, she'd never really clicked with my family. They looked down on her, and on me, too, because I work with my hands. God forbid I'm a carpenter instead of sitting in a cubicle somewhere. We built a new life. Found real friends. Joined a support group for parents of autistic kids. Our neighbors? They invite us to barbecues and don't bat an eye if one of the boys needs to step away for a break or wear headphones. They just treat my kids like kids. After the wedding, I heard through the grapevine that my sister had started trying for a baby. IVF, fertility treatments, the whole 9 yards. I figured, great. Let her have the picture-perfect family she always wanted. Then, out of nowhere, yesterday, my parents and sister show up at my door. With gift bags. And those fake-ass smiles. I asked how they even found our address. They dodged the question. Probably hired someone. Creepy. Right away, my sister starts crying. Says she misses me and the boys. My mom chimes in, says they've all had a change of heart. My dad just stands there, shuffling his feet like he did when we were kids and got caught doing something wrong. Then the bomb drops. My sister says they've been trying for 2 years and nothing's worked. Multiple doctors. Failed IVF. Now she's rethinking the meaning of family. Said that line like she pulled it straight off a greeting card. I just stood there, trying to process it. My mom's nodding along like this is the most profound thing she's ever heard. My dad's staring at the porch light. My sister keeps talking about how she's had a revelation about what really matters in life. That's when I told them the truth. They're only here because they couldn't have their perfect little family. They're settling. My boys weren't good enough when it mattered, when it was inconvenient. But now that she can't have her own, suddenly we're family again? Nah. I told them my kids aren't some emotional support animals they can ignore and come back to whenever it suits them. My boys were treated like they were broken, like they didn't belong, and that hurt them. I reminded them how we used to have Sunday dinners, every week, until she started dating her now husband, and those invites magically disappeared. That's when my mom started crying, saying I was being harsh. My sister looked like I slapped her. She kept trying to hand me that gift bag, like a toy was going to fix everything. I glanced inside. It was the kind of toy that would overstimulate one of my boys in 5 seconds flat. They didn't even remember what my kids actually liked. I told them to take their guilt presents and leave. Then I shut the door. Hands were shaking so bad I could barely lock it. They left the gifts on the porch. I tossed him in the garage. When my wife came downstairs after hearing the noise, I told her what happened. She said I did the right thing. But honestly, now I'm starting to wonder if I did. To be clear, getting back in touch with us was never really the goal for my sister. She just wanted something she couldn't have. I've seen that look before, like when we were kids and I finally gave her a toy she'd been whining about. Same expression. And no, nobody said sorry. Not once. Not even a half-hearted, "Hey, I messed up." Their little speech was all about them. Their feelings. Their struggles. How reconnecting would be good for them. Not a single word about the damage they did. Not one mention of how their choices hurt my kids. Meanwhile, my husband's family lives way out across the country. Someone had asked about them. We FaceTime on holidays, they send birthday cards, but they've never acted weird about our boys being autistic. That alone makes a huge difference. Also, if you're the one who messaged me privately accusing me of using my kid's autism as an excuse to stay mad, go find a hobby. You don't know what we've been through. Anyway, since I posted last, a lot's happened. My sister won't stop messaging me. More crying. More guilt tripping. First she was cold and rude. Then she flipped it, said I was being immature, that I was punishing her over one little mistake. One mistake? They cut us off for 2 years. After excluding my whole family from one of the biggest milestones in her life. That's not one mistake. That's a string of choices. On purpose. Oh, and she sent me a weird text at 2 a.m. saying she wants to be an aunt, and how she's jealous of my motherhood journey. Who talks like that? It sounded scripted. Fake. This is the same person who used to ask me to put my boys in another room when she visited, because their stimmying made her uncomfortable. Yeah, I didn't answer when my parents called. Figured it was more the same. The voicemail said they wanted to meet in a neutral setting to talk like grown-ups. I guess they changed their numbers so I wouldn't recognize the calls and block them. My husband's not buying it either. I told him what they said. He reminded me how, when our boys were first diagnosed, my parents kept sending us printouts about miracle cures. Kept pushing weird diets and therapies. Like we hadn't already tried everything we could. Or that time at a restaurant, when my mom whispered, loud enough for the waitress to hear, that my son wasn't being rude, he was just autistic. Like it was some shameful little secret. My sister? She used to tilt her head with that fake sympathy and say things like, "Wow, twins must be so hard. Do you think they'll ever live on their own?" They were 4. What 4-year-old lives on their own? I haven't told the boys everything yet. I thought I'd cleared everything out, but turns out one of them found a gift bag that had been left behind and asked where it came from. I told them it was from an old friend and tucked it away. Lying to my kids doesn't sit right with me. But I also don't want them getting their hopes up about people who might just disappear again. They've been doing great lately. Some folks asked if I'd consider family therapy. Maybe I will, eventually. Right now, I'm just trying to breathe. To get away from all the drama, my husband suggested we take a little family trip next month. Somewhere peaceful. There's this place with cabins by a lake a few hours away. The boys went there on a school field trip and loved it. Oh, and get this. Yesterday, I got a friend request on Facebook from one of my mom's old friends. Haven't spoken to her in years. They're probably just trying to dig around and get info in a roundabout way. I ignored it. If something big happens, maybe I'll post again. But for now, I'm keeping my focus on my family, the ones who've actually been there. Second update. Okay, it's only been a week or so, and I didn't plan on updating this soon, but I've got to vent. Because things just keep happening. First off, thanks to everyone who offered real, helpful advice instead of just calling me bitter. And yeah, I am bitter. Wouldn't you be? To answer a question I got a lot, I hadn't even opened the gifts they left. They'd been sitting in the garage. But before writing this, I finally checked. And then Tuesday happened. I was at work, part-time job at this little office. And my sister just walked in. No warning. I don't even know how she found out where I worked. It felt creepy. I didn't want to make a scene in front of my coworkers, so I took her outside. We stood in the parking lot, and I tried to keep my voice down. She started off with the usual. I've been soul-searching, and finding out I can't have kids has really changed my perspective. Then she did this hushed, fake whisper thing, talking about how her husband's views on special needs kids had evolved. It all sounded rehearsed, like she was reading lines. She even kept checking her phone during the conversation, something she always did when lying as a teenager. Then she cut to the chase. She wants to take me and the boys to her husband's family reunion. Said she wants to show her in-laws how amazing, exceptional children can be. Like my kids are props in some inspirational documentary. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't about rebuilding trust. It was about her. About showing off. About proving something to her new family. Like, hey, look at me. I have these autistic nephews. See how enlightened I am? My kids aren't her backup plan. They're not her consolation prize. I told her I had to get back to work and walked away. As I turned, she shouted, "You need to stop living in the past." Real rich coming from someone who only wants a relationship after life didn't go her way. I was shaking the rest of my shift. My boss noticed and let me leave early. You know, if they had ever shown a shred of real remorse, maybe I would have let them back in slowly. But they still don't get it. They talk about special and exceptional, like my boys are some exhibit in a zoo. Not just kids, who deserve basic respect. Later that day, my mom called from yet another number. I picked up. She told me I was being too harsh on my sister, who was, quote, inconsolable. I asked her straight up, "Do you think it was wrong to exclude us from the wedding?" She dodged. Talked about complicated situations and doing what feels right at the time. Eventually, she said it. She admitted they felt a wedding wasn't the right setting for children with issues. Didn't even say their names. Didn't call them her grandkids. Just children with issues. I hung up. I've had enough. Enough excuses. Enough sidestepping. Enough pretending like my kids are less than. Later that evening, after my husband took the boys for ice cream, I looked through those gift bags. Just like I figured, generic junk. Stuff way too young for them, or totally unrelated to their interests. One bag had a card and a check for a big sum of money. No note. Just the check. Like they thought they could buy their way back in. I tore it up. We've made it 2 years without their money. We don't need it now. And finally, I sat down with the boys. Told them the truth in simple terms. They hadn't seen their grandparents or aunt in a while because not all family treats each other right. Didn't go into details. Just said maybe someday, but not right now. They took it in stride. Honestly, I think they remembered less than I thought they would. One of them said he missed Grandma's cookies. The other said Grandpa's house smelled weird, like mothballs. Then they asked if they could play video games. And that was that. So yeah, showing up to an elementary school without warning? That's not normal. That's a big problem. But somehow, my mom didn't see it that way. She called me again, crying. Said they were in a tough spot and didn't know what else to do. I told her straight, respect my boundaries for once in your life. Then I hung up and called a buddy of mine for some advice on getting a restraining order. Had to leave work early again to go talk to the school principal. I filled her in on everything going on, and to her credit, she was incredibly supportive. Said she'd make sure there was a note in the boys' files, no unapproved visitors allowed. At that point, I felt like I was in some messed up custody battle, except these people didn't even have a right to claim my kids. Then that night, around 8 p.m., the doorbell rang. I checked the peephole. It wasn't my sister. Not my mom. Not my dad. It was her husband. The same guy who once said my boys weren't good enough to be part of his wedding. I didn't open the door. Just yelled at him to get lost, or I was calling the cops. He didn't say a word. Just slid an envelope under the door and walked off. Inside? A letter. Supposedly from him. Apologizing for misunderstandings and going on about how marriage had changed him. There was also another check, bigger than the first one. On the memo line it said, "For the boys' future." Like we needed his charity. The whole thing read like it was written by a PR team. Not a single word about what he actually did or how it hurt us. Just fake stuff about family and second chances. My husband read it and laughed. Said, "This guy still doesn't get it." And honestly, he's right. They think if they keep pushing, I'll eventually cave. Like I'll wear down and let them back in. Even the boys can tell something's off. So I sat them down and told them, "We're not going anywhere. You're safe. Everything's okay." I was honest, but made sure they felt secure. After that, they seemed all right. But man, I hate that they're even caught up in this. So we're playing it smart now. My husband suggested we start keeping records, just in case things go legal. I'm saving voicemails, texts, screenshots of my sister's posts, everything. It feels like overkill, but so is showing up to someone's job or school. Right now, we're staying low. I blocked my sister's new social accounts, changed my email passwords, and updated our emergency contacts with people we actually trust. I still don't know if I'm doing it all right, but I'm doing my best. The thing I keep wondering is, how do I protect my kids from all this mess without making them feel like I'm hiding something huge from them? And honestly, even if someone says they've changed, aren't some relationships just too broken to fix? Update 4. It's been a couple of weeks since my last post. Things have finally settled down, so I figured I'd wrap this up for everyone who's been following and showing support. First off, thank you. Even if we've never met, it means the world to know there are people out there who understand. After the school incident, my friend's attorney helped me write a formal cease and desist letter. Sent it to my sister and my parents. It's not a restraining order, but it's a paper trail. We basically told them, any more surprise visits to my home, work, or the school, and we'll take legal action. It must have worked. My sister hasn't posted about us since. No more showing up unannounced. My parents replied with a short email saying they needed time to process. Fine by me. Me and my husband took the boys to the lake after all that. Just unplugged. No phones. No drama. We rented a little cabin, and it was perfect. The boys skipped rocks, chased squirrels, and learned to fish from my husband. It's exactly what we needed. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about what family really means. As a kid, I used to think family was permanent. You're stuck with the one you're born into. But now, I see it differently. Family is the people who show up, the ones who love you for who you are, who try, who care. I don't know if I'll ever make peace with my sister or my parents. Maybe one day, if they truly change and accept my boys. But I'm not holding my breath. And I'm sure as hell not putting my life on pause waiting for that day. Someone left a comment on my last post that stuck with me. They said, "You owe nothing to the family you were born into, only to the family you choose." And they were right. We're just living our lives now. If nothing big happens, I probably won't post again. Thanks for sticking with me. You've helped more than you know.